If you're new to rubber stamping, I'm going to demonstrate a couple of very basic techniques. First of all, the supplies you'll need. Well, obviously, stamps. The two I'm going to be using in this demonstration are the Sandpiper from Hero Arts, and this one doesn't have a name, but it's made by Great Impressions. You need some stamping ink. There are many kinds of inks and they have special uses. I'm going to be using what's called a dye ink. This one is Art Print Brown by Memories. And a dye ink is a fast drying ink. It works well for what we're going to do, but you wouldn't use it if you were going to be doing a procedure called heat embossing. Now, when you stamp, you need a surface. What I'm using here on the bottom, you need a soft surface. This is a double layer of foam that I've got at Michael's for $1 a roll or something like that. But you could also use a magazine. On top, I've put ordinary wax paper, and I will be doing my stamping on the wax paper. The reason for the wax paper is, of course, to protect what's underneath, but there's another reason for using it too. After you've done a lot of stamping, you're going to end up with wax paper that has a lot of attractive colors on it. That can be used for a background for your scrapbook layout or for a card or anything you want. It makes a very attractive layout. So, to begin, when you apply the ink to your stamp, you tap it like so on the back. So this means if you're using a very big stamp that's larger than this, it really doesn't matter. You can cover the entire surface. So I've now inked my stamp, and because this is fast drying ink, I don't want to waste too much time, but you simply press it down, hold it firmly, and release. And there you have a perfectly stamped image. Now I'm going to explain a technique called masking. So let's say you've stamped your bird on a piece of scrap paper. You cut the bird out. It doesn't make sense to try and cut out the legs for this, but cut out the bird shape. Now go back. I'm doing all this on one piece of paper, but let's go back to the original bird that we stamped. Supposing you want to have a second bird, but one that's sort of superimposed behind or over front of the first bird. So what you would do, you would place your bird over top like so, re-ink your stamp, and then, whoops, it's upside down, then stamp over top, remove it, and you've got two birds. So what I'm going to be demonstrating now, what I would like is to have my birds sitting on a branch. Some stamps might have that, but this one doesn't. So I'm going to use this stamp. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to stamp another bird. There's our bird. And I'm going to apply ink to this stamp. Now here's a little trick. I want this to be a softer shade, so I'm going to stamp it up here on a piece of scrap paper first to get some of the ink off, and then I'm going to place my mask over top of the bird, and I'm going to line this up sort of like so, stamp right over top of it, remove my mask, and the bird is now sitting on a branch of a tree. So that's a basic technique of basic stamping and masking. That's all there is to it. Let's say you want to color your image. I've now stamped this image onto a piece of cream-colored cardstock. So now I'm going to distress it around the edges. This is Tim Holtz's Distress Ink Antique Linen. So I'm just going to rub this around the edges a little bit to give it kind of a soft, aged look at the edge. Okay, and now I'm going to color my bird. There's any number of ways you could color the bird. You could use watercolors, you could use colored pencils, you could use decorator chalks, sparkling H2Os, anything you want, in fact. But I'm going to do some of my work using decorator chalks. Now, this is a disgrace. This is what decorator chalks look like after they're about 10 years old and the cat has knocked them on the floor a few times. But anyways, I'm going to use a Q-tip, and I'm going to use this orangey yellow color, and I'm going to color my bird. I'm going for a soft tinted look, not an extreme look. So I'm coloring in my bird, and then I'm going to just give it a little bit of orangey tints around the edges. So there's my bird colored. Now I'm going to switch products, and this is a Prismacolor pencil. I'm going to use my Prismacolor pencil, and I'm going to just put a hint of green in these leaves. A colored bird, and it's going to be used as a decoration on a card that I'm making. Incidentally, when it's time to clean your stamps, and dye ink should be cleaned off shortly after using because they dry quickly, but many people clean their stamps using baby wipes. They work well, or you can buy commercial products.